buckle up because we are going to talk about some rough times. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I'm a part-time reseller on a variety of reselling platforms, and in today's video I'm going to share with you everything that sold for me, or I should say the very few things that sold for me in the week of February 6th through the 12th. It was a rough week of sales for a number of reasons. So first of all, this particular week I went on a cruise with my family. It was the first time cruising for my husband and my kids. My husband, for whatever reason, really wanted to go on a Disney cruise. It was a 5-night cruise. It was so fun. It was amazing. We really enjoyed it and definitely want to cruise again in the future. If you guys are cruising people, by the way, please let me know down in the comments like which cruise line you think is best, especially with kids. My kids didn't actually like the kids club very much, which is a little bit frustrating, but I'd love to know what cruise line you guys cruise and what you guys enjoy. I really want to cruise to Alaska. It kind of seems like we're not going to be able to do it through Disney because holy cow, those cruises are expensive. So especially if you have any tips regarding Alaskan cruises, please let me know. That is on my bucket list when it comes to traveling. But we went on this cruise during this week. Of course, I got COVID on the cruise. And not only that, but like as soon as the cruise is over, my husband and I both felt so insanely just like dizzy. They call it sea legs where you feel like you're still on the ship. I think it was the combination of that plus COVID. I mean, I was knocked out for like the next 2 weeks. It was awful. So we had already missed a week of school because of the cruise. My husband and I missed basically the whole next week because of the fact that we had COVID. He got COVID too. My kids somehow still have not gotten COVID, even though I've had it a couple times now. They don't get it. I don't know what it is. So that was rough. And then as a result, sales were rough. So it was rough times. So Monday, which was February 6th, 0 sales. Tuesday, which was February 7th, 0 sales. We were on our cruise at that time and I did not do any prep work beforehand. I didn't have listings going live or anything like that. I just went and hoped for the best and the best didn't happen. So, what are you going to do? I didn't have the time or the energy or the resources to like draft all these listings and have them go live while I was on the trip. Just couldn't do it. But on the other hand, I had a lovely time with my family. So, On Wednesday, which was February 8th, I finally had a sale and it was over on eBay. It was this pair of the North Face gray activewear pants. They had like a button fly and they were in a men's size 34. Those actually sold for $29.99, which was my full asking price. The North Face is kind of a slow seller for me, especially if it's not like a nice jacket or something. But these were part of a wholesale palette that I purchased from a reseller. So I had $3.92 into those and I made a net profit of $20.83. On February 9th, which was a Thursday, on Poshmark, I sold a new to me brand. The brand is Alex Mill. I believe they do women's and men's clothing, but this was a men's piece. It was a chambray snap button-up shirt in a size small for men. It had pockets on the chest and it was made of 100% cotton. This sold for $30. It was actually something that I found at a Goodwill when I was on like a trip with my students. It was some sort of festival. They were in rehearsal all day. So I went thrifting all day while they were rehearsing. And at that particular Goodwill, there was this one rack in the men's section in like the size small that you could tell was all from the same person. And it was all really high quality stuff. There was a bunch of Theory, a bunch of like John Varvatos. There was this particular piece. There was just some really great brands. However, Goodwill knew probably as they started looking through this guy's stuff like, oh, we can mark up all of this. So I had never seen this brand or heard of it until I saw it in that section of the rack. And so I looked it up, saw that comps were kind of all over the place, but generally like pretty decent. So to get $30 for a shirt like this and to get it pretty quickly, I thought that was pretty good. So even though I did pay up for it, $9.99, I made a net profit of $14.01. But I'm going to say, part of the reason why I paid up for it was for the education of what is it like to carry this brand in my closet? Does it get a lot of attention? Do people make offers on it? Do people, watch it? Do they like it? And even though I didn't make as much profit as I typically like to make per item, my goal is to make a $20 profit on everything that I sell. It doesn't happen all the time. It happens maybe like a little bit more than 50% of the time, I would say. But even though I didn't hit that goal and kind of knew going in that I wouldn't, I think it was worth it for the experience of seeing what it was like to have an Alex Mill piece in my Poshmark closet, eBay store, etc. The next thing to sell was over on Kidizen. It was this Disney Tsum Tsum. You know, it's like those little anime characters. This little graphic pink short sleeve t-shirt in a youth size medium. That sold for a whopping $8. That was with free shipping. So I made a net profit of $2.27. So no, I did not hit my goal of a $20 profit on that piece, but it was something that someone gave us for free. Someone from my church. My daughter ended up never wearing it. And I also found it very coincidental that this Disney shirt sold while we were on a Disney cruise. So super small profit. I'm okay with that. You sell something and make a $2.27 profit a billion times, you're going to make a lot of money. On Friday, which was February 10th, on eBay, I sold this pair of Bear Traps Adeline Brown leather upper faux fur lining suede ankle boots in a size 7. These sold for $39.99, which was my full asking price, and it was promoted at 3%. I had $7.99 into these, and I picked them up at a local Goodwill. I was actually pretty hesitant to pick these up because I have another pair of Bear Trap boots listed on all my reselling platforms, and they've been listed for over 2 years, and they refuse to sell. So when I found these at the local Goodwill, I was like, I don't know, do I even need to look up comps? I just feel like this isn't a very desirable brand. But I did, my due diligence. I looked up comps just in case, and they were actually pretty good. And I think the only reason I even took the time to look up comps is because they were in really good condition, and because I picked them up probably in like November or December, a really good time to list boots. So I picked them up for $7.99, and I made a net profit of $22.82. So while this is a brand that I'm kind of leery of, I do think it's important to check comps for this particular brand because some, pieces and styles do really well by them, and some of their styles will sit forever. So you just got to know what you have and if it's worth picking up. The next thing that sold was this cut loose gray 100% linen cropped long sleeve shirt in a size medium. This had buttons all the way up the back, which was really interesting. And just the fact that it was 100% linen. Cut Loose is actually a pretty good brand. A lot of their pieces tend to be kind of like login look, which means kind of like that layered, oversized, not sloppy, but like, I don't know, just kind of a little bit more like hippy dippy, bohemian style. This was another Whatnot purchase. I actually purchased this off of Denali, who you guys may know as El Ducho on Instagram and YouTube. I was in her Whatnot show, and I think it was stuff that she had found at the bins. So I got this for $9.56 from her, which I thought was pretty great. It sold for $25, which was not as much as I wanted. But at this point of the week, I had barely made any sales. So I was like, I'm just gonna accept because I really need to make some sales here. And I was hoping that by accepting that offer, I would make more sales. I did not. It was just those two. But I ended up making a profit of $11.04. Again, it wasn't the $20 that I was hoping for, but we needed to make sales. We needed to make some money. The next two sales were over on Depop. The first one was this vintage Hunter's Run denim trucker jean jacket in a size medium. So this came from a reseller who realized she doesn't like to sell clothes. So she asked me if I would buy all of her clothes off of her for very cheap. So I said yes. So I sold it on Depop for $30. That was with me paying for shipping, which, this was a heavy jacket. So I did have a decent amount into shipping, but I only had $2 into the piece. I still made a net profit of $13.97. The next item to sell was by the brand Polo Ralph Lauren. It is one of my favorite brands to resell. It just does so well in the reselling market, I feel like. But the style name was Declan, and it was this pair of leather shearling lined lace-up boots in a men's size 8. This is actually something that a friend of mine gave to me for free a long time ago. It took me forever to get around to listing them. I don't know why. I just didn't want to list them, but once I did, they actually got a decent amount of attention, and they finally sold on Depop. Now, I did get a little bit of a sob story. Someone was saying that, I don't even remember. I mean, I kind of believe that the story was a little bit made up, but I did just go ahead and let go of the shoes for 40 because even though they were getting a lot of attention, no one was biting the bullet, and they had been listed for a decent amount of time, and they're in a size 8, which is a little bit smaller when it comes to men's shoes. So I still made a net profit of $21.90 since I didn't have any money into them, and I was just happy to move them. And you know, if this person's sob story was true, then I'm especially happy to have been able to, you know, sell these to this particular individual. But yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those things. Like, I read the story and I was like, some of these things are not lining up, but you know, I sold them to him and everything worked out fine. On Saturday, which was February 11th, on Poshmark, I sold another piece from that Goodwill where it was like a bunch of higher end men's pieces all on one rack. This was by the brand Billy Reed, which I had never heard of, but I looked it up because of the fact that this was made of a silk blend. So that, and because of like where it was in the rack and it was surrounded by all this other really good stuff, I looked it up and saw that comps were pretty decent for this brand. So it was this gray striped silk blend lightweight crew neck sweater in a men's size small. This sold for $32. I did pay up for this. I paid $14.97. But again, it's because I just wanted to try out the brand. I wanted to see how much attention this brand got so that if I found it in the future, I would know if it was worth picking up or not. So my net profit was only $10.61 because I paid so much for it to begin with. But now I know it's a pretty decent brand to be on the lookout for. It's just not worth paying that much for. On eBay, I sold this CJ Banks blue linen blend full zip vest. It was in a size 1X for women and it was lined. CJ Banks is another brand that I don't pick up when I'm at the thrift store. This was something that came to me, you know, from that reseller who realized she doesn't like to sell clothes. And to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that I got from her, I either sold at a pop-up consignment sale for really cheap, or I just donated because they just really were not worth listing. This one I listed because it was a vest, so it was a little bit more substantial of a piece. It wasn't like a t-shirt or something like that by CJ Banks. I also listed it because it was made of a linen blend, but this is not the kind of stuff that I like to pick up and resell. That's part of the reason why I made a resolution in the year 2023 to not buy other people's inventory, to not do ThredUp boxes or wholesale boxes, because I just want to be in control of what I am listing. There are a lot of resellers out there who, you know, they lose their motivation when they're looking at stuff and they don't like what it is that they have to photograph and list. I will list anything. I'll photograph anything. I don't care. Like, if I don't like it, it doesn't really matter to me because it's just, you know, I'm just taking pictures of the things. I don't have like emotional attachments to them or anything like that. But it is still kind of a slog to go through a bunch of pieces that you know are just not going to make you very much money. Even if I don't particularly like something, if I think something's ugly, or, you know, if I'm not vibing with a piece, if I know I'm going to make good money on it, I don't care. Like, I'm going to photograph it, list it, sell it, and I'm going to pocket that money. I'm not going to care that I didn't really care for the item. But it's harder to do when you feel like you don't like the item, and not only that, you're not going to make very much money on that item. So this sold for $17.90, which actually wasn't that bad. I don't even think I was expecting that much. And that was an offer that I sent out to watchers. Again, I had $2 into it because it was part of that, you know, lot that I got from that reseller. So I did make a net profit of $13.33, but literally none of that was enjoyable. And that goes for this next sale as well, which was a Lane Bryant piece. Lane Bryant does not move for me. I sit on Lane Bryant forever. So I just do not pick it up anymore. But it was part of the lot from this reseller. So I went ahead and listed it, and this particular piece didn't sit for that long. It was this teal button-up cardigan sweater in a women's size 18/20. This sold for $19.99, which was my full asking price. I do think, you know, Lane Bryant, you have to price it a little bit lower than you would some other comparable brands to get it to move. So I think because I priced it a little bit lower than I would have if it were, you know, by a brand like Torrid or something like that, it moved quicker than I had anticipated. I had $2 into it because it was from that reseller, and so I made a net profit of $13.44 on that. The next thing to sell was actually something that I purchased to resell from a Goodwill. It was by the brand Pull and Bear, which I had never heard of before. Comps were like okay, not actually the greatest, but I only picked these up because of the style. They're like that big chunky Y2K boot with like a lug sole. They were leather and they had a side zip in a size 6.5. These sold for $34. I picked them up for $7.99 from that Goodwill, so I made a net profit of $22.12. I do think that I sat on these a little bit longer than I would have liked. They were listed for at least 6 months, I would say, but I ended up making the profit that I wanted on them. And I think the main reason they sold is because of the style. And then on Sunday, which was February 12th, I had a bundle of 3 items. And I believe this went to a viewer. I didn't write the name down in my notes, but I will put their name right here. Thank you so much for your purchase. I appreciate you so much. The first thing that they purchased was this shirt by their brand Construct. It's like CON_struct. I had never seen the brand before picking it up, and I've never seen it since then. So I don't know if it's a very common brand, but it was this pink short sleeve polo shirt for men in a size large. I got this forever ago. I want to say like 2.5 years ago at a local consignment store. It was a big bulk buy that I did through them, and so I only had 80 cents into that piece, which is better than like bins prices, which is why I was picking up anything that looked halfway decent, even if I didn't know the brand. I wasn't taking the time to look up comps or anything like that because there was so much stuff to go through, and so I'm glad that it finally sold because I've had it for a long time. The next item that sold in this bundle was from that same consignment store actually, but it was something that I purchased during their birthday sale. And the way that they run their birthday sale is you get all the items you want and then they stuff them in bags for you and you pay $25 for each bag. So it's a really good deal. And so my average cost of goods for that trip was $2.52. So this was a fossil wristlet. It was part of that like keeper line and it had multicolored stripes on it. It like zipped around. It was a little thing, but because I had so little into it and because it wasn't going to take up a lot of space in the bag, that's why I just kind of threw it in there. And then the last thing to sell in this bundle was this pair of new without tags Orvis jean denim high-waisted shorts in a women's size 20. That's another thing that came from that big bulk buy, so I only had 80 cents into those. I saw that she liked those 3 items. I can't remember if she put them in a bundle or not, but I sent her an offer of $50 for those 3 pieces with discounted shipping. Especially because 1, I had so little into those pieces, and 2, the polo shirt and the shorts I had for so long. I just wanted to get rid of them, and that's why I sent such a low offer on all 3 items. So I made a net profit of $34.16 on those 3 pieces, but I was just mainly happy about the fact that I got to move out some incredibly stale listings. That felt really good. Like really great pieces, like the Orvis shorts, I don't know why they were listed for so long, and the polo shirt, I really think it was just a lack of brand recognition as far as why it took so long to sell. But thank you so much again for your purchase. I appreciate you taking those off my hands, and I do hope you love all of those items. The next thing to sell was this Matilda Jane Evergreen Dream jumpsuit. It had like butterflies and hummingbirds all over it and like really sweet straps. It was in a women's size medium. That sold for $28. This was something that I actually picked up at Plato's of all places. You don't typically think of Plato's selling Matilda Jane for women, but I got it during probably like a 70% off clearance sale. I only had $4.20 into it, so I made a net profit of $18.20. I used to really like picking up Matilda Jane for women, not because it aligned with my style, because it doesn't. It's a little more cutesy than what I like to wear, but because it used to sell really well. Nowadays, I have a much harder time moving it. It sits for longer and it doesn't sell for as much. So I'm much more picky now about the Matilda Jane for women that I pick up, and I tend to leave most of it behind. The last sale that we'll talk about was this pair of Free People black daisy clean crop pull-on pants with a high rise in a size extra small. These I picked up at Plato's as well. They were having a clearance sale, so I got them for $5. They sold for $25, and I made a net profit of $15. And they were not listed for very long at all. They were so fun, so reminiscent of like the 90s. I'm not surprised that they sold as quickly as they did. So now let's talk about my numbers. On Poshmark, I only sold 7 items, and that was for a gross sales amount of $165. Once you factor in fees and shipping discounts, that total drops to $130.28. My cost of goods for those 7 items was $38.30, and so my net profit for the week was $91.98. cents. On eBay, I sold 6 items, which was actually better than how I had done the previous 2 weeks. That was for a net profit of $166.87. Once you factor in eBay's fees, that total drops to $137.04. My cost of goods for those 6 items was $33.46. And so my net profit for the week on eBay was $103.58. I had one Kidizen sale for a gross sales amount of $8. Once you factor in shipping and Kidizen fees, that total drops to $2.27, which ended up being my net profit as well because I had $0 into that item. And then I had 2 Depop sales for a gross sales amount of $70. Once you factor in the fact that I paid for shipping and Depop fees, that total drops to $37.87. My cost of goods for those 2 items was only $2 because one of those items was given to me for free. And so my net profit from Depop was $35.87. So in total, I sold 16 things for a gross sales amount of $409.87. Once you factor in fees and shipping, that total drops to $307.46. My cost of goods was $73.76 for the week, and so my net profit was $233.70. My weekly goal is like $833 or something like that, which is why 233, that was a slap in the face. That hurt, but that was the best I could do given the fact that I was gone on a cruise. I had done no preparation for my reselling business to succeed while I was gone whatsoever. And then I came back and was just out of commission because of the combination of sea legs and COVID. It was quite the double punch. I mean, I just felt like someone beat the crap out of me. You know what I mean? Like just from head to toe, I ached. I was dizzy. I was just like fighting the urge to throw up all the time. Like it was rough times. We were just dealing with a lot. There was a lot going on as far as the effect that this cruise had on our bodies. Let me know again, if you're cruising people, if you get all of those symptoms as well. That's the one thing that makes me not want to cruise again because it took a while to recover, but I also can't separate what from that was COVID and what from that was simply sea legs. It was just bizarre. I'd never experienced those feelings before. And my kids didn't get it at all. My kids were fine without the patch. They didn't get seasick and they didn't experience that kind of like dizziness or feeling like their world was rocking, like they were still on the ship once we got off. They were just fine. So I think it hits adults a lot harder than it hits kids for sure. It was a good time, but man, I paid for it. So it was a rough week. We all have them, and that was mine for the year. Hopefully the only one. That's a wood table that I'm knocking on, so we'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate you taking time out of your life to hang out with me in this way. If you did enjoy this video and hearing all about my ridiculous cruise, please hit that like button. It does help YouTube push this video and my channel in general out to others. So if you could do that, I'd super appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!